Hi again, I'm Julie Burko, Director of the Office of Human Resources. We have another segment of our virtual town hall series called OHR at Home to share with you today. In this video, our colleagues from the NIH Training Center in the Workforce Support and Development Division are going to share how they transitioned to a 100% virtual training operation as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Training Center is one of our largest and most unique business areas in OHR. I know this was a big undertaking, so I'm excited to hear from them.
Hi, I'm Elena Juris, NIH Training Center Director.
And I'm Barb LeClaire, NIH Training Center Deputy Director.
And I'm Keisha Berkeley, Program Manager at the NIH Training Center.
Right now, like the rest of OHR, we are 100% virtual. What's different that you don't see is that we have up to hundreds of NIH employees live and online with us right now, taking our classes, participating in leadership programs, and receiving one-on-one coaching.
Here's our virtual story.
Before the NIH went into quarantine, we dipped our toes into virtual training, but our business was grounded in more than 95% in-person training. We'd rolled out LMS courses online a few years ago, and we had piloted MS Office classes during inclement weather season. We'd practiced WebEx, but the scope of shifting hundreds of events online for the pandemic was unknown territory, both for us, but also for the dozens of instructors that we work with. So we prepared ourselves very early. Already in February, we established our coronavirus risk strategy to prioritize what classes we'd run in anticipation of the NIH community and our staff being compromised. First, we continued courses that were being run online already. Second, we'd prioritize classes that were needed for accessing key NIH systems or were mandatory. Then we'd adjust leadership programs to a virtual cohort that worked on a virtual schedule for each group of participants. Our remaining classes would be offered depending on the technical support bandwidth that our team had available, given that most NIHers were new to using virtual platforms and would rely on individual help from our team. Finally, for our group training arranged for ICs, we'd work with the IC to determine how WebEx ready their staff was, balancing our own capacity to assist individual users and the urgency of their class. Doing this exercise helped us to establish a game plan for the bulk of our offerings. Then we could focus on itemizing unique technical needs for one-off training events and tackle those one by one. We tested deeper functionality in WebEx, Zoom, Adobe Connect, and other platforms to identify the best setup for each need, such as remote panel discussions, remote exam proctoring, and teaching systems sandbox-based classes that required VPN. Some of our instructors even needed to get NIH badges and laptops to help make this quick switch. Our team also then worked individually with our course instructors. So while most of our instructors had previously been resistant to online training in past years, they quickly realized that virtual training would sustain their small business. Many of them were contractors, and so this was how they had made their living. We provided tech support while some instructors moved ahead with their own virtual training platforms, enabling us to provide more support to instructors and customers who needed it most. We were very encouraged to see that our senior leadership program pulled off a 3-day virtual retreat early in the NIH transition. I'll pass to Barb now to talk about our learning best practices.
Thanks, Elena. As we started this journey, we looked at what universities around the country were doing and how their instructors were shifting to online learning. We used that information to develop our guidance. Even now, months after the initial transition, our standards are still evolving. First, we thanked our instructors for their quick transition and primed them for a long-lasting footprint in the virtual training space. Then, we encouraged them to review their class logistics. This included offering more breaks, shorter classes, slimmed down course materials, and fully optimizing virtual engagement tools. The goal, better match the needs of students during this unique time. So while we plan to go bare bones on class priorities at the start, we've instead been running full steam. Our classes are all 100% virtual and we're busier than ever. During our transition, we continue to gather evaluation feedback from all class and program participants, adding questions about virtual versus in-person formats and monitoring this closely to make improvements. Having passed through the emergency transition mode, which we call phase 1, we consider ourselves to be in phase 2 of virtual training and are optimizing the virtual experience for years to come. Some classes required leaps of faith to convert to a virtual format and landed better than we'd ever imagined. Keisha will share about one of these popular workshops and the story of its transition. Keisha?
Thanks so much, Barb. So as some of you likely know, we offer a unique program for women leaders at NIH called Women in Leadership Strategies for Success. We launched this cohort-based program a few years ago to create a safe space for women to share some of their challenges and unique situations of leadership. This class is wildly popular and gets really good feedback. So the real draw of this course, like many of our other leadership programs, is the ability to establish relationships with other ambitious and forward-thinking leaders across the organization, stepping out beyond the IC level to engage and connect with new people and to mutually leverage those relationships. It even includes a half-day panel where NIH senior women execs share their insights with participants and offer on-the-spot mentoring and advice. Relationships formed in this 3.5-day program is a huge component. So, to my story. We have an in-person Women in Leadership class scheduled to run on March 17th. Did we run the class virtually or simply cancel? Our decision to cancel and just wait a bit until this whole COVID situation was behind us, which we thought might be in a few weeks or months. We just moved people to the next offering, scheduled for June. So, well, the end of May approaches, and we're still working remotely with no hope for a return in sight. We thought, well, let's just go ahead and provide people with something rather than nothing. Who knows, maybe it won't be too bad. So we ran the June session via Zoom. And let me tell you, the evaluation feedback from this online class was off the charts great. Who knew? So kudos to our facilitators who did a really nice job. One, creating a safe space where people felt comfortable sharing some rather personal stories and being vulnerable online. Two, effectively using video cameras to build a community of learners. It's important to look at expressions and real faces on a Zoom screen rather than a stoic photo or a name on the screen. And three, providing sound content and using breakout groups and other strategies to keep people constantly involved, all while recognizing that people also need frequent breaks and some downtime. So, the moral of my story is don't be afraid to take risks. This is a time for exploration, a time for meaningful change and discovery. Virtual training, in my opinion, is not better, not worse. It's just quite simply different. Still effective, though. This has been a huge learning experience for me in terms of something that I thought could never, ever work. This pandemic has changed my perspective on so many things and has shown me that the possible really isn't so.
Well, thanks, Keisha. So what does the NIH Training Center look like in the future? Well, we've been asking ourselves that very question. Something we hoped would influence us was the question we added to our class evaluations I mentioned earlier. We asked if given the opportunity, would learners prefer to continue in a virtual format, go back to in-person, or be fine either way? Well, guess what? Responses were split pretty evenly, with a third wanting to continue virtual learning, a third wanting to go back to in-person learning, and a third were fine either way. Taking those responses into account, as well as input from instructors, we are looking at doing a few things. We'll continue our virtual learning format even after it is safe to be back at the training center. This will give students more options for their learning. As mentioned earlier, we'll offer a variety of class lengths. Same knowledge, just a shorter version. And finally, we'll offer additional sessions of our most requested classes without classroom space restrictions. Back to you, Elena.
What's neat to see now is that the rest of NIH is now more familiar with remote platforms, which makes our job a little bit easier in teaching through them. Now we can focus on the business of learning, as there are many things we still don't know about virtual training. For example, will the enchantment of virtual training wear off after many months of being remote? Have participants taken away the same level of understanding that they would have in person? Along with that, are NIH employees all self-motivated enough to take away from online learning what they would in person? We know that people multitask in our classes. There are some infrastructure pieces too that we're watching to see how that affects our future. For example, will NIH roll out free Zoom licensing and improve accommodations for accessing its use? Or how even our own current costs model can accommodate future training formats that we offer. We do consider all of these to ultimately be what makes our job exciting, unknown, and new every year. There are new challenges for us to test and track with our customers and adjust accordingly as this evolves. We hope that you too can find some curiosity in the unknowns of this year. Thanks for hearing our story. Don't hesitate to reach out to us and
learn,
discover,
grow with the NIH Training Center.